Hey y'all, come on in. Welcome back to my kitchen table. It's so good to have you here today. You know, life throws a lot our way, don't it? Sometimes it feels like we're in a whirlwind of wants and worries. But today, we're going to talk about finding peace right here in the midst of it all. We're diving into a profound understanding of contentment, as taught by Jeremiah Burroughs and exemplified by Abraham. That's right, we're going all the way back to the good book for some timeless wisdom. So grab a glass of sweet tea and settle in, because we're about to explore how aligning our will with God's can bring true peace and joy. Are you ready? Let's get started. Now, you know Meemaw loves to share my blessings. Whether it's a slice of my pecan pie or a good story, I believe in spreading the joy around. But there's a little something we can learn from Abraham and Lot about how having much can sometimes cause conflicts. You see, both of them had flocks so large, their shepherds started arguing over grazing land. Can you imagine all that abundance leading to disagreements and tension? It happens sometimes, doesn't it? We start chasing after more and more, thinking it'll make us happy. But sometimes those very blessings can become burdens if we're not careful. It's like that old saying, money can't buy happiness. It's true, y'all. Real contentment, that deep down peace, it doesn't come from what we have, but from who we are in Christ. Abraham and Lot's story reminds us that material possessions can be a blessing, but they can also be a source of conflict if we let them. It's so easy to get caught up in wanting more, bigger, better, but true wealth, my dears, lies in our relationship with God and with each other. Think about it. How many times have you seen families torn apart over an inheritance? Or friendships strained because of envy and comparison? It's like that green-eyed monster rears its ugly head and tries to steal our joy. But we don't have to let it. Remember, our value isn't determined by the size of our bank accounts or the things we own. Our worth comes from being God's children, loved and cherished beyond measure. So next time you find yourself feeling envious or discontent, take a moment to refocus. Look around at the blessings in your life, the people you love, and the love God has for you. That's where true contentment lies. Don't let the pursuit of more distract you from what truly matters. It's like chasing after the wind, always just out of reach. Instead, find your satisfaction in God's love and grace. That's a foundation that can never be shaken. Remember, true wealth isn't measured in possessions, but in relationships and in our walk with the Lord. Let's strive to be content with what we have, knowing that God will always provide for our needs. And let's focus on building each other up, not tearing each other down. Now, who wants another slice of pie? Now let's talk about Abraham for a minute. This man, he was something else. Faced with a conflict, you know what he did? He chose peace over possessions. He said to Lot, "Let's not have any quarreling between you and me, for we are relatives." Imagine that, putting family above fortune. That's the kind of heart we need, y'all. Abraham understood something powerful. Relationships are more valuable than riches. He knew that land, even fertile land, couldn't replace the bond he had with his nephew. It's a lesson we could all stand to learn in this day and age, don't you think? We get so caught up in getting ahead, climbing the ladder, accumulating things. But what good is it all if we lose sight of the people who matter most? Our families, our friends, our neighbors, they're the real treasures in life. It reminds me of a story about Thomas Watson, the founder of IBM. He was known for his sharp business acumen, but also for his deep care for his employees. One time, an executive made a mistake that cost the company a hefty sum of money. Everyone expected Watson to let him go, but instead he called the man into his office and asked, "How much did this mistake cost us?" The executive, trembling, told him the amount. Watson simply nodded and said, "Well, we've just invested a lot of money in your education. I expect you to learn from this and not repeat it." Can you imagine the loyalty and dedication that fostered in his employees? That's the power of valuing people over possessions. When we put people first, we create a ripple effect of love and generosity. It's like that old saying, you can catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. Kindness and compassion go a long way, y'all. So let's take a page from Abraham's book and choose people over possessions. Let's invest in our relationships, nurture our bonds, and build each other up. Remember, at the end of the day, it's not the things we have, but the love we share that truly matters. Now, who wants to help me whip up a batch of my famous chocolate chip cookies? Now, Lot, bless his heart, he went and chose the fertile Jordan Valley. It seemed like a good deal at the time, all lush and green. But you know what they say? The grass is always greener. Well, sometimes it ain't all it's cracked up to be. Lot learned that the hard way. He got caught up in the allure of what looked good on the surface. It's easy to do, isn't it? We see someone else's success, their possessions, their seemingly perfect life, and we start to feel a twinge of envy. We think, if only I had that, then I'd be happy. But that's a dangerous game to play, y'all. Because here's the thing, we never see the whole picture. We don't see the struggles, the sacrifices, the heartaches that lie beneath the surface. We compare our insides to everyone else's outsides, and that's a recipe for discontentment. Lot's choice led him down a path of destruction. He ended up in Sodom, a city known for its wickedness. Talk about out of the frying pan and into the fire. It's a stark reminder that what seems appealing at first glance can lead us down a slippery slope. The Bible tells us in Hebrews 13, verse 5, to be content with what we have. For God has said, "Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." Those are powerful words, y'all. We don't need to chase after fleeting pleasures or material possessions to find happiness. True contentment comes from knowing that we are loved and cared for by the Almighty. So the next time you find yourself longing for greener pastures, take a moment to appreciate the blessings in your own life. Cultivate gratitude for the people, the experiences, and the lessons that have shaped you. Remember, God has a plan for your life, and it's a good plan, even if it doesn't always look the way we expect. Trust in His timing, find joy in the journey, and let go of the need to compare. Your grass is pretty darn green too, especially when you water it with gratitude and faith. Now, who wants to help me shell these pecans for another pie? Now let's talk about Abraham again. This man, he understood something profound about contentment. Even after Lot took his pick of the land, Abraham didn't despair. He didn't grumble or complain. Nope, he trusted in God's provision. The Bible tells us that Abraham built an altar to the Lord, a physical reminder of his faith and dependence on God. Can you imagine that? Instead of focusing on what he'd lost, Abraham chose to focus on what he still had: his faith, his relationship with God, and the promise of a future filled with blessings. That's the kind of perspective we need, y'all. It's easy to get caught up in the what-ifs and the if-onlys of life. But when we do that, we miss out on the beauty and the blessings of the present moment. We forget that God is always with us, providing for us, guiding us towards our destiny. Just like He provided for Abraham, God will provide for you and me. It might not always look the way we expect, but He's faithful to His promises. He knows our needs even before we ask, and He's working behind the scenes to orchestrate our good. So how do we find this contentment, this deep-seated peace that surpasses all understanding? It starts with surrendering our will to God's will. It's about trusting that He knows what's best for us, even when we don't understand. It's about finding our joy in Him, not in our circumstances. It's about being grateful for what we have, knowing that every breath is a gift. It's about focusing on the good, the beautiful, and the true, and letting go of the need to control everything. It's not always easy, I know. Life throws curveballs, and sometimes it feels like we're just trying to keep our heads above water. But even in the midst of the storms, we can find peace in knowing that we're held securely in the palm of God's hand. So let's be like Abraham, y'all. Let's build our own altars of faith, reminding ourselves of God's faithfulness and His unwavering love. Let's choose to trust in His plan, knowing that He's working all things together for our good. And let's find contentment in the journey, knowing that true joy is found not in what we have, but in whose we are children of the Most High God. Well, my dears, it's been such a blessing having you here at my kitchen table today. Remember, true contentment comes from aligning our will with God's. It's about letting go of our need to control everything and trusting that He knows what's best for us. Stand down from that worry, from that fear, and trust Him. Find your joy in Christ, in the love of your family, in the beauty of this world He created. Thank you for joining me today. Stay blessed and content in His love. And don't forget to come back real soon. Meemaw's door is always open, and the coffee's always on.